Hi everyone, how are we doing today? My name is xSlamFox and I want to cover one of the first builds for the new Helminth Subsume system. Before I cover the build, I'm just going to make sure everybody knows how to do this, just give you a little quick guide on subsuming in general in the Helminth charger. So right here is the Helminth segment blueprint. You can buy it from Sun once you've reached rank 3 of Entrati standing for 15,000 standing. Once you have actually bought the blueprint, you have to return to your orbiter and build the blueprint in the foundry. Once you have built the blueprint, it takes 24 hours to build, but once you have it built, you have to go into your Helminth area to install the segment. If you rush the blueprint or if you claim it without changing back and forth, I'm pretty sure it bugs out a little bit. So if that happens to you, just go to a dojo, go to a mission, and then come back and you'll get a nice little yellow area. And then you get to name your Helminth after you read through all the quest markers. So once you have completed the installation of the segment, you have to actually subsume Warframes into the Helminth. So the first thing you have to do is feed him to make sure he has enough resources to be able to subsume a Warframe. So once you have a spare Warframe equipped, you can head over to your Helminth segment right here, and you can click Subsume, and it requires a certain amount of materials. So you feed to get the materials, equip the Warframe, and then click the Subsume button and type Confirm. And then you have to wait 24 hours for the subsumation process to complete, or if you feel like it, you can rush it with Plat. I rushed a bunch of them with Plat. After you have subsumed and unlocked the ability, switch to the Warframe you want to put the ability on, refill your feeding meters, and then click Insert Ability. Right here I had a tough choice to make. I had to choose between Discharge or Speed. I'm only going to use this on a B build, but I do think that Discharge is the better choice on what to get rid of here, just because Discharge is more expensive and this is going to be a highly specialized build. This time around I just did Speed. I wanted to keep Discharge in case I had to do any AoE farming, but I do think in general it probably would be better to get rid of Discharge rather than to get rid of Speed. This build is pretty much an Eidolon hunting build, so I think the Discharge doesn't really see much use in the Eidolon area, but this build is going to be used with Smite, Smite Infusion, Shock Trooper, and the Shock ability. By taking these two abilities and modding them with their subjective mods Shock Trooper and Smite Infusion, both of these mods give plus 100% damage, but they also scale off your strength. So if you can get your strength really high and get a great duration on this, just like your Eidolon hunting build, you can actually get insane damage numbers. Before, people were kind of limited because they just had Smite or Shock Trooper on Volt. So with just Shock Trooper on Volt, they were looking at plus 300% damage. Usually you could still one-shot an Eidolon limb with the right setup, but sometimes you had to shoot, 5 or 6 times. With a setup like this, you don't need a Riven, you just need a basic 3 or 4 Forma Rubico Prime, or any sniper rifle you want, and you'll be easily able to clear plus 500% damage. So with your sniper rifle, with plus 500% damage, and with the bonus Smite, Smite Infusion, Shock Trooper, and the Volt Shield that he puts down, which increases your damage overall by 50%, or it increases your crit chance by 50%, not sure which. But if you stack up all these effects together, you should be able to get some incredibly high damage numbers, even against armored targets. Shock Trooper is shock damage, and Smite Infusion is radiation damage. So altogether, since they all play into the radiation type, you should almost always be getting a massively high radiation damage type attack. So right here I'm just going to head over to the Simulacrum and I'm going to show you an average player's build for a Shock Trooper build. So again, right here you can see a normal adaptation Shock Trooper general use build that a lot of people might be using. A pretty decent amount of power, a very good amount of duration and a good amount of efficiency so that they can cast these abilities over and over again. A setup like this is perfect for doing high amounts of damage to a single target, just like Eidolon hunting. But if you really want to push your damage to the next level and get as much damage as you possibly can, putting on the Smite Infusion bonus will really help you get it up to a much higher number than you could possibly hit without it. So here's our regular entry-level hold for Shock Trooper, and then put down a shield, zoom in for that bonus crit, and you see we're getting nice crits around 80,000 radiation damage. These 80,000 radiation damage crits are very, very high, and they're excellent for trying to one-shot an Eidolon's limbs. But instead, you might be wondering, okay, what's the highest maximum damage threshold I could possibly reach? So if you can stack your strength as high as you can, fit in these two mods, Smite Infusion and Shock Trooper, you should be able to get a damage that's so much higher than the original base that we had. So instead of it doing around 80,000, if you hold the Shock Trooper and then hold the Smite Infusion, and right here we're already doing 150 to 180,000. So let me refill and reset the enemies. Just so we can get a little bit of a clearer picture, I'll just resimulate some more enemies. And again, if we put down the shielding and we hold down all of our buffs and make sure we zoom in for that bonus headshot multiplier, and you can start to see us hitting, 180, 200,000, 190. That one was 230 times 2. That was actually a multi-shot one. 230. And yeah, obviously this should be more than enough to one-shot Eidolons. Thanks for checking it out, everyone. Have a good one.